Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Scott.
How are you?
I am wonderful.
You know, we're talking about personal brand today, and I think it's a really timely thing because we're getting into the winter months, and a lot of our clients, many of them are really, really too busy. Some of them are not busy enough. So people aren't necessarily feeling at their best.
Hmm.
But I mean, personal brand has a lot to do with how you show up when you're on these calls, right?
Oh, so much of it. Think of your personal brand, how others perceive you.
Yeah.
And it's so easy, especially in this virtual environment. A lot of us are working from home. It's so easy to just stay comfortable and have a maybe too relaxed, too comfortable stance when presenting over video. And how does that come across to your audience? So,
Yeah.
Scott, this is a question I always ask my clients. How you show up in virtual, does it match how you want to be perceived by your audience? And I'm talking about everything from your background to your lighting to how you actually physically put yourself together, because everyone's watching.
Yeah. And I would add too, it's how you behave,
Yes.
right? Because
Body
it's,
language, your eye contact, it all
yeah.
tells a story about you.
Well, and look, I've been working with clients recently in the software industry. They happen to be super busy, so they're tired.
Mm-hmm.
And the typical experience of talking with them is they've got a digital background all the time, and digital backgrounds themselves are a little strange.
Oh, the virtual
Yeah,
backgrounds.
yeah, right, exactly. The virtual
Yes.
backgrounds. I'm like, so it looks like you're, flying over the Golden Gate Bridge right now while you talk to me, but the lighting doesn't match, and my brain's kind of freaked out. You add on top of that that maybe they're dressed a little too casual, and then you add on top of that that there's not a lot of energy.
Yes. Well,
It,
it's interesting because if you ask a presenter, how do you want to be perceived by your audience when you are presenting? Oh gosh, the answers are always around. I want to be perceived as confident, professional, engaging, as the expert, which is great.
yeah,
So, does this match that?
yeah,
So that's
yeah,
the question to ask yourself. Hey, when you're getting dressed in the morning, when you pull that sweater or shirt out of the closet, ask yourself, hey, if I wear this, does it match how I want to be perceived?
yeah.
Because all of this, it impacts your personal brand.
Well, and that impacts how open people are to you.
Absolutely.
Like if your personal brand is now, this is a person that is passionate, um, has all those qualities that you just listed, is knowledgeable, is authoritative, cares, all those things, then people are open to you. You're going to have a much easier time transferring your ideas into them so that they can walk away having gained something from the whole thing. It's not just about your ego and making you look good or getting the next promotion. It's literally about your effectiveness in any conversation that you have.
Yes.
Um,
So you want the way that you show up to be congruent with the message that you're trying to give. It helps your audience to take you more seriously
yeah.
at the same time. So Scott, you mentioned something interesting, how we are joining back to back video calls and we are exhausted. It's called Zoom fatigue. And
Yeah.
by the end of the day, the thought of joining one more video is just painful. I believe that we're all doing the best that we can
Yeah.
in this environment. If you have to give a high stakes presentation, especially knowing that you are going to have your key stakeholders attending that presentation, gather whatever you have left in yourself and take it up a few notches. People will notice.
Yeah.
They will
I
absolutely
compare
be
it
able to
to
tell.
having been a swim coach. I'm always comparing speaking to sports in some way. Um, it is a game time event. You're showing up for a high stakes talk. So you have to really show up like it's almost being ready to start an athletic game of some kind. I'm asking my clients to always sit up with a tall sort of posture, make sure they're balanced, not laying back in their chair, but balanced with sort of a forward orientation as they speak, to bring a lot of expression and energy to everything that they're saying, to use their hands and to really give it their all. It is taxing. It's taxing on your energy. But we all know that sometimes it's by digging down and finding that energy that makes the difference when it comes to making the impact you want, getting people to buy into your idea, and of course, building your brand, right?
Yeah, it can be taxing. However, it pays off. It
Yeah.
is absolutely worth it.
Are there any other insights that we can share about, not about the behaviors of showing up, but like you said, about the dress or about the background? Any little tips that you would leave with our listeners about personal brand and what they can do in a virtual environment?
I believe the best way to find out how you are perceived is to ask.
Yeah.
Have the courage and ask the people that you work with the most, that you trust will give you an honest answer, and simply ask them, how do I show up? How do
Yeah.
how am I perceived, especially in this virtual environment? I also love asking, what is it like to sit across from me?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna really learn information about yourself that otherwise you never would have known. We don't
Yeah.
know what we don't know. So when we ask for feedback and let that person know, hey, give it to me real. Like, I can handle the tough feedback.
Yeah.
Tell me how I am showing up. What do I do that's distracting? Because we may think we come across great. However, if our audience doesn't think that, then it really doesn't matter. So it's asking.
I love that. I would add to it. Here's the 1-2 punch. Um, record record a meeting. I mean, in Zoom, record the meeting and then ask one of the participants that very question: how did I come across? But then go back and look for your own evidence too. I mean, hearing somebody else say it is great. Connecting it to what you actually see really makes it concrete in your mind. And it gives you
Yes.
something you can really work on, right?
Yes, because if you're given feedback that you speak with a lot of filler words, unless you hear it yourself, unless you witness it yourself, it may not really sink in. So if you have recorded that meeting and you can go back and listen, oh my gosh, I say and so every few words, then it really sinks in for you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how would we wrap this up? Is there any specific details you want to really emphasize?
Yes, I do. I do. I want to keep this really simple. If we get in the habit of asking ourselves the question, hey, if I wear this or sit back like this, does it match how I want to be perceived? So if we get in the habit of always asking ourselves that question, it's going to change our behaviors and it's going to change our decision making, and it's really going to stand out. Your audience will notice.
Yeah. And I would say show up from the very first sentence. Be great. That means sit up, bring the energy, bring your focus, be expressive from the first sentence.
Give your audience 100% of you.
That's right.
I love that. I love that visual. Scott, our next topic is near and dear to both of our hearts.
What is it? What are you talking about? What's the reveal?
We are going to talk about eye contact. Now, this may sound like a boring, typical topic. However, Scott and I, we have a very different stance. Scott,
Right.
you don't believe in eye contact.
I tell all my clients, I don't believe in eye contact. I don't
And
believe
I
in it.
greatly believe in eye contact. So I am looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah. And so you guys tune in next week when we talk about eye contact. All right. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Thank you, Jen. You've
Thanks,
been
Scott.
wonderful. I can't wait to fight with you next week.
Looking forward to it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.